Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for hanging out for the, I guess, additional hour it took us to get on the air. But we are here, our new time for the day. Normally we are Fridays we start at 2 p.m. on the West Coast and 5 p.m. Eastern time. But I could not make it back to the studio in time for the 2 o'clock broadcast. Was going to cancel. And then Joe's like, come on, man.
You can get your brows done anytime.
Oh, that was a good one that I have no comeback for. Because that was fucking short. That was witty and funny. And if I had more brows, I probably would get them done. That fucking Zarian, dude. You see his brows? Unbelievable.
Oh, my God. We were testing out the connection. And when he popped up on screen, the first thing I saw were eyebrows and then hair.
It's just, he has one eyebrow. That's it.
A unibrow.
I mean, he has them done. But if he didn't have them done, it would honestly be out to here and straight across. Unbelievable. But I will say, you know, and he obviously he's on finasteride. He doesn't want to do this, and he grew a lot of his hair back from it. But he is one of the guys, and I tell guys this all the time. If you have that type of sturdy, first of all, the shaped head that he has, and those eyebrows, you could do anything. You are free of baldness. Those things frame your face. I'm not that lucky.
I agree with that 100%. And I rag on him, but I mean, it looks fantastic. It really does. He's just got the best I never thought as an adult male I'd be saying this, but he has the best eyebrows.
They're unbelievable. No, he really
that hairline, the way it came back on Propecia blows my mind.
Well, you know, that I think that's the key, and that's the thing about early intervention that a lot of guys just don't understand. A lot of people would think, by the way, my gait is so perfect here that every time I stop speaking now, there's dead silence. There's no noise. It's unbelievable.
It's nice. It's nice. And if people are wondering why we're saying that, it's because we've switched over to a new system as of Tuesday. This is day 2 or broadcast 2 on the new system that we got set up. A lot of engineering went into this. A lot of
speaking about that engineering, can you up your volume on your end because I'm have you really potted up and you're a little low.
There we go. How's that?
Do it again.
Check 1. Check 1.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
And guys, let us know also about the sound. If Joe's sounds levels are good and mine are fine because we have a completely new setup. I got a brand new DBX, new kind of computer system, all kinds of switchers, and it's a whole new process here. So you may see that all of a sudden the screen goes black. It's probably because I pressed the wrong button, which could happen. But yeah, man.
As long as you have the sound effect that goes wah 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 wah.
I do have it somewhere, but I will tell you, man, that fucking Zarian, he is a finasteride poster child.
He really is.
It is unbelievable. Now, most people, if they would have seen him before he started to take the drug, they may have said that he was borderline, But I had known him a few years prior to him taking it, and I saw a change. But when you see the before and the after now, he's one of the few guys that I think grew back all of his hair.
I think he did because I thought I remember his hairline being, he had a weakness to it. There was some see-through elements to it. And I even thought at the time that his hairline seemed a bit high.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a conscious thought, but then when I saw him on Tuesday, the first thing I noticed was his hairline looked lower. and then it looked really dense, like much stronger.
Now, and it does. Now, does Joe still sound a little quiet, Benny G? You let me know. And that means you may have to raise your levels on your side. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. All hell has broken loose in the hair transplant industry this week. And I have to say, and I just want anyone in the ISHRS who is listening, my constructive criticism has nothing to do with me being anti your organization. I am a fan of the possibilities of what you guys can actually get done, and also a fan of what you've accomplished in the last 20 years. I'm the first one to say that. Sadly, that kind of gets lost in translation when I go out there through our private, Facebook group and try to, illustrate some significant and, really possibly damaging missteps in your effort to save this field. And, I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who's taking the time to listen. I know that Joe posted that the show is going to be live in that group as well. I wish more doctors would take the time to call in to discuss the situation, essentially face-to-face. It's a telephone call. We are not monsters here. We are on the same, we're supposed to be on the same team, and we're trying to make that happen. The industry is falling apart. What's going to be happening in the next few months what's already happened is insane. I was speaking to one doctor today, and I was talking about this whole, the Venus concept situation, trying to explain to this person how, it's going to be easier than ever now for people to get into the field with a low barrier to entry. And then I was explained by this doctor that, the reason both of these companies sold to Venus is because they weren't doing well. I said, it's not about the money of the companies not doing well. What they were able to succeed in was making it appear that state-of-the-art hair transplant surgery has something to do with a specific device, an FUE. Now that they have, now that they have the ability and the backing to get this technology, and to deal with physicians better, to deal with customer service better, to deal with, it's going to be a lower barrier to entry to get into. It's going to be less expensive. They're going to be able to rent this equipment. That narrative will then be able to, become the business model that they wanted it to be. But the narrative's there. That's all they need. That's what I'm trying to explain. So things are really going to take a shift. Guys, it's going to be more dangerous than it ever has been. And again, I want to make it clear, this has nothing to do with either of these devices, the Artist robot or the NeoGraft. I mean, if these devices are in the right hands, you could have a decent outcome. It has really little to do with it. It has to do with the devices getting into the wrong hands. It has nothing
to do with it, because there are IAHRS members. There are hair transplant mentor doctors that use both devices that get good results. And the idea that or the lack of awareness when people are talking about the best route to take is, it has nothing to do with the technology. It's always down to the person who's the hand that wields the tool.
Exactly.
Artist is a tool. NeoGraft is a tool. SmartGraft is a tool. CIT is a tool. Doesn't matter. Experience is what it comes down to. That's what I preach. That's what you preach. And for people to lose sight of that, especially people in the industry, is beyond me. I can't even relate to that type of ignorance.
Yeah, well, I had I think I had a really important conversation today. I'm glad that this person called me, but I have to, kind of consistently try to explain certain tactics that I have to try in order to get these people's attention so that they stop, or they consider going down a path that will be more effective. How's that?
Say that again?
I'm not going to. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I'm calling from San Diego. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, Daniel, I can. Can you hear the caller, Joe?
I can, but it's quiet like before.
Okay, I'm gonna raise it and see what happens. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Is that okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Joe may be having
That's
some problems.
better. It's still quiet, but because it's so clear, because it's so crystal, it's more than acceptable. So go ahead, Daniel. Thanks for calling.
Okay. Well, Joe and Spencer, I just wanted to thank you guys. You guys have been excellent mentors, and what you guys do is a great service. I really appreciate it. I had a question for you guys. I'm in the San Diego area, and first off, I'm 38 years old. I've been on finasteride since I was about 20, 21, and just gradually, through the years, the effectiveness has been wearing down and down and down, and I'm starting to get more and more thinning in the crown area. And I was considering PRP, and I was wondering who you guys might recommend for PRP in the San Diego County area.
Well, first of all, a lot of people, they come to us or they come to me and they've been on finasteride for a long period of time, and they believe that the effects of the drugs are wearing off. What's really probably happening is that your genetics are, kind of catching up to it. They're too strong for the dose that you're currently taking. And I'm not saying to up your dosage, but that's something that you might want to talk to your doctor about, because some guys in your position, if they do play with the dose or titrate the dose, which means using as, upping it to the point where you make sure you're not increasing chances of side effects, but maybe the chance of efficacy, some guys will see things kind of go back to where they were, the baseline. Mm-hmm. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but unfortunately I've gone down that route. So, I started out in my early 20s just doing the quarter of the ProScar. Yeah. That seemed to work well for many years. And then I forget exactly when I bumped it up to 2.5 a day, and there's been no change. And actually within the last 18 months, in speaking with an endocrinologist, I switched over to dutasteride. And I wouldn't say it's better, and I wouldn't say it's worse. It's just kind of, it's just there. Nothing's changed much. So that's why
that's exactly what I went through, except I had a side effect of bloat, being puffy. But that's, I couldn't really tell a difference in my hair between finasteride or ProScar and dutasteride.
I get that side effect from just hanging out with Andrew. So, but Joe, your levels are low, man. I don't know what's going on. Let me see if I can bring you up from this end here.
How's this?
Try it again.
Check 1 2. Check.
I'll bring you up here.
Check 1 2.
All right, that's good. Loud. All right. All right. So, who would you go to for PRP in your area? And that's a tough call, because not all PRP is created equal. There are some guys in San Diego who are IHS members who offer PRP, but I will say that I haven't personally seen any of their PRP results. So while they are part of what we do and they support our message, and I support them as hair transplant surgeons, unless I actually know or at least get some sort of contact from, anecdotally from patients who've been to them for PRP, I can't give you a direct recommendation.
Okay.
But this is what I suggest that you do. You can call. There's a couple of people you can call, and you can do online consultations with. One, and I think that he might take some time with you. If you're willing to travel, there's a PhD who's also a RN. Anyway, Joe Greco. I can't remember what he is. PA. He is the guy that did most of the research and worked with the universities that did most of the research for PRP and hair loss. He can give you a full explanation. You can go to his website and read about it, and at least you'll have some insight on what to ask for when you are considering PRP. You want to make sure that they have an FDA-approved system. Some doctors prefer a closed system. Some doctors prefer an open system. You have to know how. Anyone who's performing PRP on you has to know the ratio of white blood cells to red blood cells, and what platelets to use and what concentration. It's a complicated process, and only someone who has a lot of experience in seeing positive results has really honed that. I know that Alan Bauman down in Florida also is doing a lot of PRP. And I know that, at least according to Joe's research, and from what he's seen, that Jerry Cooley, who is in North Carolina, North Carolina, seems to be doing, and he's one of the OG guys too when it comes to PRP. Seems to be getting good results as well. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Joe.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been, when I was at his clinic, he was showing me results, but he also introduced me to a patient that dropped by. She's also a dermatologist in the area. She dropped by for a follow-up, an unscheduled follow-up. So I just happened to be there, got to see one of his results in person, and it was strictly PRP. There was no other therapy whatsoever, no surgery, no nothing, and it was a phenomenal turnaround. And like Spencer has said, Dr. Cooley's one of the OGs on this approach. The other names that he mentioned are also showing some results with their PRP. I don't know of anyone in San Diego, but one of the doctors we both work with, Dr. Bobak in Los Angeles.
True.
He's been utilizing PRP for a while now, and he's been sharing that he's got some success with it, and he's happy with it. He's happy with their protocols. So you could reach out to the Alvia Armani Clinic in Beverly Hills and talk to them about it. I don't know of anyone else, no one I'm working with, or no one that I'm cordial with in the area that's using PRP with effectiveness. I just don't know.
Well, let's put it this way: everyone is offering PRP, and I believe I believe that a lot of the guys in the IHS who are offering it have taken the time to try to find the right protocol. I did an interview with Paul Rose. I don't know if you saw that, but essentially he did a relatively isolated, just a small study in his practice, him and Dr. Nussbaum, and I think that they tested 9 PRP systems and came to the conclusion that most of what's being produced out there is not even platelet-rich plasma. So, and only 1 or 2 of the systems that they tested actually increased growth factors in plasma. So that's why you have to and that actually may be a good guy to contact. Paul Rose, he's down in Florida as well. He's in the Miami area, and he'd be probably more than happy to talk to you about it and tell you what to look for.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Dr. Bobak. How do you spell that?
Baubac.
It's the Armani Clinic in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, okay, I'm not going to call anybody in Florida. I'm just getting my car and driving to L.A.
Pretty much.
Well, I figure I'd start a little closer. To be honest. But I appreciate it. Just I think that Greco fellow is also in the Florida area. Is that correct?
He is. He's in Sarasota, Florida.
If I was at least on the same coast, but I think I'll start with Bobak. I really appreciate it. One last quick question. How come you guys mention minoxidil so little? Is it just, for me, it never worked. It was a hassle. It was annoying.
Question asked, question answered.
Yeah, I think you just answered. I think you answered your own question, dude.
It's just like, I was just wondering, you guys never mention, is it basically because, it doesn't work for a lot of people?
If you're a physician, these guys are trained to kind of throw the kitchen sink of FDA-approved drugs at you. So they'll put you on a combination of minoxidil and finasteride right away, cross your fingers, and hope for the best. Minoxidil helped me for a while at the very beginning, and that's all that I had. When I was a kid, when I started losing my hair, minoxidil was not even approved for hair loss yet. So I had a doctor prescribe it to a compounding pharmacy for me to go to a compounding pharmacy, and they compounded like an alcohol and propylene glycol base with Lonotin pills, crushed it in one of those things. I forgot what they're called. And what is it? Bezel and mortar?
Mortar and pestle.
Pestle, yeah, thank you. And I would put this crap in my head, wake up, and it was all powdery, but it actually worked. And then about 2 years later, Rogaine was approved by the FDA at 2% formulation for hair loss. So I would say that it really helped slow things down for me for about 2 or 3 years, and then it kind of it wasn't working anymore, and I was lucky enough to find finasteride. So I look at minoxidil as a kind of like a Band-Aid. I also look at it as a second option to finasteride. And again, I'm not a physician, but I always tell, and I've said this for years on the show, you want to try to hit it at the hormonal level first if you really want to prevent further hair loss. So to answer your question, I think most people have the same type of response that you had with minoxidil.
Okay. Well, that's about it for me. Spencer, I wanted to thank you. You are such a pioneer. I mean, I'm almost 40, but so when I first started noticing my hair loss, I got lucky in that finasteride had basically just been approved.
Right.
So I started taking it, I think, honestly, within like 6 months or maybe like 10 months of noticing my coronal hair loss. So I'm part of the generation where, I've been privileged to have, a DHT blocker readily available from the get-go. And unfortunately, it hasn't been as effective as I might have wished. But, if it wasn't for guys like you, a lot of us would be lost. So I just want to say I really appreciate all the work you've done.
Well, that really means a lot to me.
Nice to hear.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. I was talking to somebody about this very thing, about, today, about, there's so many people out there who've been helped by our work over the years that we never hear from. And,
Right.
You're one of those guys who I'm glad were, able to find us. And listen, the fact that you got a good 10, 12 years of relief from finasteride, that's pretty huge. That was probably life-changing.
Yeah.
Besides, remember when you're in your early 20s, you said to yourself, you won't care about your hair loss when you're 40, so you made it.
I will say, time and listening to you guys honestly has made me hold off on getting a transplant. I'll never forget being like 22 and going to the Bosley Clinic and seeing some guy with more hair than I had when I was 22, and I had a good amount, and he was so excited to get his widow or his what do we call him, his temple region filled in. And I just looked and I was like, dude, you're crazy. Like, your hair's fine. And I'm so glad that I waited. I'm so glad that I found Dr. Bernstein in New York. I'm so glad that I found you guys. Like, seriously, the money you guys have saved me, just like the mental therapy of listening to you guys talk about this and feel like I'm not crazy, dealing with this on my own. Thank you so much to both of you, really.
Well, listen, it's our pleasure, man. I'm glad we were able to help. And, let us know what you decide to do. If you decide to see Dr. Bobak and have PRP, I'd love to hear about your experience.
Sounds good. All right, fellas. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling, Dana.
Got to take that clip and send it to Ricardo.
But you paid him, so, it
These
doesn't
guys, count. Jesus. 888-659-3727. And when I think about, things that are said about me and probably you as well, but now, things are a little different, by some of these physicians out there who really have no clue at, to the extent of what we do and how people appreciate this work and need this. Sometimes it just pisses me off.
But we're just marketers.
But yeah, we're just marketers. That's what we do. We're marketers.
But no one listens to us when it comes to marketing.
Right. Holy shit. 888-659-3727. 888-659-3727. Dark circles like I haven't slept. Anyway, let's see who this is. Can't be talking about me. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Oh, hi, Spencer. Hi, Joe. This is Bob calling again from Calgary, Canada.
Hey, Bob. What's happening?
Hello, Bob.
Hi. I have a few more questions for you guys.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yep. Yep. So first I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about this doctor in Turkey, Dr. Demirsoy?
Demirsoy?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Yeah. I just wanted to know, I did some research. I saw a few results on on the forums.
Yeah.
For his transplants, and I just wanted to ask, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to let Joe address this. See ya.
Thanks.
Really?
I know who he is. I've seen the work. I mean, what do you want to know about him? Like, I don't want to give just a general opinion about the work. I mean,
here's my opinion. There's been no application that I'm aware of that's come across my desk to the IHRS. So I have not taken the time to really take a close look. With that said, you see a lot of talk. But you also see a lot of talk about several clinics in Turkey because there is a real push to market on message forums and on YouTube and things like that. So some of them are good, some of them are not so great. So that's probably why you're seeing so much about this particular doctor, that they really have been active in kind of marketing their brand.
I see. Yeah, I went to his website. He says, it says on the website, he has 19 years surgery experience.
Well, let me ask, where you're, so you're in Calgary.
Yeah.
So the reason for you to travel, and I think this is very, very apropos that we're talking about this right now. It's just good timing. You want to travel to Turkey for the price break.
Pretty much, yeah. Like last time I called you guys, I said I first considered Hassan and Wong. I know they're a lot more credible than this person for an FUT, and then I kind of thought that the one my head opened, and the FUE sounded a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I told this doctor today, and it's interesting that you bring this up, that if they want to solve what they call the black market problem, if they want to solve this turnkey issue, if they want, and I'm not saying that this particular doctor is not good at what he does, but if they want to solve the problem of people traveling to have surgery and possibly being harmed, if they really care about patients, then they should all cut their prices in half. And that will eradicate the black market. That will eradicate people traveling to far-off destinations to have cosmetic surgery.
100%.
And I was told that, well, you know, doctors need to eat too. Well, I totally get that. And that was just kind of almost tongue-in-cheek, because to me, these guys want me to do what I do and want Joe to do what he does, whatever it is, for nothing, essentially. You know? So you're talking about going out, getting on a plane, making arrangements to fly to another country to have a hair transplant to save a significant amount of money. I understand the draw. So my advice is this. Really try to do some more due diligence. There are a couple of members of the IAHRS who have, you know, good track records who are in Turkey. There are some other, there's some doctors actually in India who have really good track records who you might want to consider if you're looking for a cheaper route. My advice is to make sure whoever you decide to go with, if you're going in this direction, you find out who their technicians are, how long they've been working with the clinic, how much time on tissue each technician has. You know, see if you can actually, you know, really kind of track these people down to see what their experience is. It's not going to be easy, but to me, that's really the only safe bet when you are kind of making this move to go to kind of like tech-driven clinics.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I'm there. I'm listening.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, anything you want to add to that?
Well, no, I think what you're talking about is perfectly legit and logical. I think that if you're going to be going to a clinic that is primarily a tech clinic, and I'm not saying Dr. Demersoy is a tech clinic, but I think he is. I could be wrong, but you need to drill down deeper, because when you're going to a clinic where you know who the doctor is, like say you're going to go see Dr. Wong, it's really easy. It's almost too easy to do your research about him in today's world, because, you know, it's really simple. You just go back and you look at the results that he's had over the past 20 years, and you know that he's the one that's doing it, right? But when you go to one of these technician clinics, You have no fucking clue who did the surgery because the doctor is usually just drawing a hairline and then walking out to do the same thing for 10 other guys. And that's the problem with a lot, not just Turkey, but it's becoming more prevalent in other countries as well, where the doctor isn't even doing he's not even making incisions. He's just drawing the hairline. I went to my second trip to Turkey in 2015. I went into one of these clinics, a very well-known, I didn't realize it at the time, but he's become a very well-known clinic or doctor in Turkey with a lot of the European patients. And this doctor sat down in front of me, drew my hairline, said, we can lower your hairline 2 centimeters on me. He already knew, like he could tell I had a hair transplant because he's combing through, he saw the donor scars. And that's when he became a little suspicious, but he drew a hairline on me 2 centimeters below where it is now. That would have taken, like the way he drew the hairline on me, it would have taken 3,000 grafts, which I don't have. But he was willing to take it all with FUE. But he drew the hairline, and they were trying to get me to do surgery that day in one of the ORs where he wouldn't have been around. They got the technicians extracting and making decisions to place the graft. So it's really difficult to do research on, who it is that's actually doing your procedure because you don't know. The doctors or the clinics aren't listing out the technicians and what they do, what experience they have, much less the patients that they've worked on.
Now
you
do know that I gave him that advice because I knew that he couldn't do it.
Because
I knew that he would realize, wait a second, I can't find out who these people are. And maybe he would say, it's not a good idea. That's all.
Hey, man, you gave him the ball. I ran with it.
Yes,
okay.
you did. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all for it. Listen, I wish hair transplant surgery was less expensive for everybody because that would really eradicate a lot of the damage that's happening out there. It really would. I wish good guys can get together and say, you know what, we're going to offer something. Maybe we don't have to drive this Ferrari, or maybe we can have one less country home or whatever it is, and we're going to give you guys a better price. But you know what? It really comes down to whatever the market will bear, and that's the way cosmetic surgery works. With that said, most of the guys who are charging what you would consider to be a high rate, at the very least, you have to understand, and no one really talks about this. There's a lot that goes into just the simple safety protocols and costs that are being completely cut out because of the what these cheap clinics really do cut corners. So I mean, I think there is some value to paying a reasonable amount per graft, and there's some reasons, not just for pure profit. But it makes it really difficult, especially since hair transplantation is a cosmetic surgery that has really become almost an acceptable part of the fabric of our culture now. And now that it is not just seen as something for the rich and famous, or seen something that celebrities have done, or that results, not anymore, but we're getting so good that everybody's like, you know what, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind having a hair transplant. A lot of people who are losing their hair are considering it, and a lot of people now who are considering it are just regular Joes. Not regular Joe Tillmans, but just guys who are like trying to figure it out. How am I going to pay for this?
Let's be honest. They ain't anything regular about Joe Tillman.
Nothing regular about you. But they're putting on credit cards. They're taking out loans. I mean, I find that absurd, to tell you the truth. But I mean, that's the way that I handle my money. But I mean, I would never in a million years put myself into hock for a surgical procedure unless I knew that the outcome would be completely life-altering in a positive way. If there was any chance of something going wrong or me being unhappy, maybe I'd spend the money eventually, but I'd wait till I could actually afford it. So I think, the reason why there's such a black market, there's so many people who are being botched out there, is because there's a lot of guys who are getting surgery who really, they're not in a position to afford this elective procedure.
Not to mention, they're not in a position to afford the possible repair that it might need.
Right.
That's something a lot of patients don't talk about. or think about in advance. It's, how can I save money in this hair transplant? But they don't think about the possible need to repair that transplant down the road if it doesn't turn out the way that they hope. And you don't want to have to think about that, but it is a legitimate concern that I think more people should have, no matter where you go. I mean, I've seen patients go to some of the recognized top clinics in the world and still need to have a repair surgery, but with a lot of these discount clinics, with a lot of these destinations that have discount clinics, you are going to run into a higher probability of needing to have a second surgery, not to add more coverage, not to add more density, but to repair the first procedure if possible.
Yeah, I
so that way,
that
way the money that you saved goes down the toilet, especially considering the fact that a lot of the hair that you used can't be reused. So that's a waste in and of itself. The donor hair is non-renewable. It's rare that you can reuse it. Sometimes it's over harvested in certain areas. You get thinned out. Yeah, I mean, so many things can happen, and it's all expensive to fix because you got to go to someone that knows what they're doing, and you paid for your discount procedure, and you might have to pay full price for a top-rated clinic just to fix it for you.
And here's another problem that I see with all of this is that could happen anywhere. You could pay top dollar, and that could happen. But at the very least, if you kind of stick to maybe in North America, for instance, you're in Calgary, you really have an opportunity to do some research, in my view. Like Joe was saying, you could really figure out what's happening with Dr. Wong. You could really figure out what they're they're kind of get a look at their breadth of work. It's just not the same when you're traveling abroad. It's very difficult. You have to do you have to have a kind of extra insight, in my view, to find really great facilities like in Turkey and India. They exist. Trust me. There's some really good work being done. And that's why I kind of miffed. I know someone's mentioned that article that came out in the, I guess it was originally the Daily Mail, but it got picked up by some, by the Mirror and other places. And I kind of felt it was misleading, and I thought it was unfortunate because there's some really good work being done in Sweden, really good work being done in India, really good work being done in Turkey, and really bad work as well being done in the UK. Actually,
really bad work, so bad I've made videos about it.
Right, actually, the UK when they're saying to look, I don't even name the commission that they're saying to, because I don't remember it. But when they say make sure that your surgeon is approved by what commission is that in the UK?
The General Medical Council, GMC.
Okay, well, I think there's something else as well, but
Care
Council or something like that. I can't remember it because I was drinking all week with Andrew Zarian. But all I can say is that kind of, it really disturbed me. I felt it was really misleading because in my view, the vast majority of physicians in the UK who are offering hair transplant surgery are not doing it the state-of-the-art standard. Just like 3, 4 guys that are really doing it well.
Yep.
And that's it. So I don't know what's more dangerous.
The UK market, in fact, the UK market is in some ways more dangerous than say going to Turkey to try to find a hair transplant clinic because well, I mean, just look at the work that's come out of a lot of the clinics. It's bad there.
It's really bad there. So anyway, I don't know if we answered your question, except maybe we gave you a little pause to kind of step back and kind of rethink what you're doing. There's no rush for surgery. If it really is an issue of cost, I believe that most physicians today, because of the way the market is, will negotiate with you. And you'll probably be able to get a significantly lower price than you thought going in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's always in the back of my mind. Like I know, like I did a bunch of research on Turkey surgeries. I know the chance of getting ruined is pretty high.
it's only honestly it's because of the pure volume that's being done, so the chances are higher. But if you actually look at a ratio, in my view, the chances are just as a ratio pretty similar, if not even higher, in the UK. And that is a bold statement that no one's going to like hearing, but that's just reality. That's why
it's true.
For many years, I mean, people are traveling to the U.S. and traveling to Brussels, for instance, from the UK to have hair transplant surgery. And it wasn't about price because they were paying top dollar to travel. It's because everyone sucked.
Yep.
So, So my advice would be this: if you go to Turkey, really do your research. You can go to the IHRS. There are other resources as well, but YouTube could be a little tricky. And speak to as many patients as possible. Not some patient that you speak to, or proposed patient or supposed patient on a WhatsApp chat. See if you can meet somebody. See if you can Skype with somebody. See if you can, see if you can speak to other North Americans who went to the same clinic. That's really the way to do your research.
Yeah, there's one patient on the Bald Truth forum that went to his doctor, and there's a few on the hair loss forum that went to the same one.
And it's a real patient that went to the doctor?
I'm sorry?
Did you know for a fact that this is a real patient who went to this doctor?
All the information leads me to believe.
Well, I can tell you how it works. I'm not saying this isn't a real patient, but there will be clinics, and they even get past our moderators, that will set up a profile to look like they are a patient, and they will just use patient images without the patient's permission, and they will speak as though they had surgery. They may even be using someone else's clinic's images. And they're essentially just salespeople, and they troll the forums all the time. So you really have to make sure that if this is a person who claims to be living in North America, that's a patient of and he went to a Turkish clinic, that you have the opportunity to Skype with this guy, to really get to know this guy, ask him direct questions like, do you work for the clinic? Do you make any commissions from this? Things of that nature.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay, I will definitely do that. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Yeah. What determines how many surgeries you will need? Just before I say that, I'm 31 years old.
Luck.
I'm sorry?
I said luck.
Luck.
In
Luck, really.
in a lot of ways, luck does determine it, man. Genetics and luck.
Yeah.
So if I just started finasteride, I'm 2 months in, and I'm just I'm trying to see what is it going to do for me, because I guess that will determine if I should have a surgery or not.
Well, and that's actually I'm glad the fact that you are going to wait. You're going to see how you do on finasteride. That's really important. You're not jumping into surgery, and it's also going to determine how effective surgery is could possibly be, and how, like you said, how do you tell how many grafts you're going to need or how many surgeries you're going to need? If you do well on finasteride and say you're still unhappy, but you want to get some work done, but you see that you've stopped the progression of your hair loss, or you've reversed deminiaturization, and maybe you've gained some hair back, you're going to have to move less hair, or have to have the surgeon move less hair. So you're in a better position right away.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, and like I had I said last time when I phoned in, I had a consultation with one of the consultants at Hassan and Wong, and he pretty much told me the same thing. Okay.
All right, man. Well,
thanks,
listen.
Thanks a lot for your help, guys.
Wish you the best of luck. Obviously, you're not rushing into anything, so just keep us posted.
Got it.
All right,
thanks,
take
guys.
care. All right,
have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for calling.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. How you doing? It's Nico. What's happening?
Nico, what's happening, bro?
Nico.
How you guys doing? What's happening?
All right. How is everything working in on Joe's chat? How's the sound and everything? Is it good?
Oh, prime. It was a little low at first, but you guys are money right now.
All right, good.
And I see what you mean by the gate with the silence from your microphone. I mean, you would hear that better than me, but you guys sounded like you upgraded a bit, so it's good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we did.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Wish somebody
What's going on, man?
Some
What's new with
fucking
you?
money to pay for the studio. Sorry.
Same old. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out with my. I think Joe, you'd help me out. With determining about my low-grade inflammation issues that I've been having, where the hair hurts and all that shit and the patchiness. I'm trying to figure out. And I definitely, made some diet changes and things like that. I'd mentioned no soda, and I've been putting back the bone broth and putting stuff with like turmeric in it. I'm on 3 medications total, and I'm trying to figure out what might be causing whatever I'm ingesting. What's the best way to take things out to figure out what might be causing the inflammation? So I'm on Propecia. I take also omeprazole for heartburn, which I'm trying not to take because PPIs are really no good for you. And then occasional Valium or whatever. So I don't know if I should be trying to take things out. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out an order in which taking things out, how I should go about it, if that makes any sense.
Well, I'd look at the one that's least important as far as your overall health goes. And then barring, any issues there, I would look at the one that is least important for just your overall well-being, the way that you feel. Heartburn. I actually had an issue with heartburn years ago, and I fixed it with diet. I just stopped eating. I mean, I'll eat junk food like pizza and stuff like that every once in a while, but I used to drink soda years ago. Mm-hmm. I used to eat like Dagwood style sandwiches all the time. That was my lunch. I love sandwiches, still love them, but I don't eat them because there's so many preservatives in the meat. Deli meat, so bad for you. Bread. I'm not a big bread fan anymore. And once I cut sandwiches and juices and sodas and stuff out of my diet, man, I lost all of my heartburn. Never had it since. And I've not had a bout. I can't remember last time I had a bout of some heartburn, but I think diet is a huge part of that. And so look at Propecia. We know we don't want to start with that for obvious reasons. Your Valium, that's a personal issue, but you're taking it, I would assume, so infrequently that maybe that's easy to rule that out as being an issue because it doesn't stay in your system very long. And if you're using it infrequently, I think it's logical that's not an issue. Your heartburn medication, that might be an issue depending on how often you're taking it. So wean yourself off of it, and give it, maybe a month to see how you feel about it without changing anything else. If you still have an issue, then it's relatively safe to say that probably wasn't the cause of your heartburn, and then start looking at your diet. But we talked about this before. I believe we talked about your nutrition at one point. So just go back to what we were talking about and try that. And, it's eliminating sugars, eliminating, junk food of all kinds. Always read your labels, sugars and everything, by the way, or high fructose corn syrup. All that stuff is just bad for you, man. But just take it slowly and process of elimination and see how it works out for you. The hair hurting part, there's evidence that there's some sort of relationship to DHT, to DHT with that. And I've had patients tell me that the pain of their hair reduced after taking starting with finasteride. So maybe it's reduced it some, or maybe it's not effective at all. I don't know. But I think that's a different conversation. But as far as the elimination of issues or elimination of medication question, I'm not a doctor. You know that. Everyone listening needs to know that. But I think that starting off with maybe that heartburn medication, weaning yourself off, give it about a month, and see how that works out is the way to go.
Yeah, that's sort of been my tentative plan. And I'd actually been considering, because I'm on such, Propecia, such a small dose, and so few times a week, I'm wondering if I should up it. And I know you said you try to keep things baseline, so I'm wondering if maybe I'm not even taking enough, you know?
Well, how much are you taking?
I've been taking, 1 milligram, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Lately, just because of the inflammation stuff, I knocked it down to 0.5, playing around with it a little bit.
Okay,
but I'm wondering if
stop
maybe
playing
I
around
need
with
to-
it. Find a dosage and stick with it. Stick with it long term, because when you start playing with it, it's like you're introducing another variable that you can't account for. So stick with a baseline of X, whatever it is that you're going, 1 milligram, half a milligram, whatever, and stick with it. I'm a believer. I've seen it time and time again. Results are dose dependent, which is contrary to what a lot of people may think, but I've seen it too many times for, in my mind, that not to be the case. So if you can tolerate a higher dosage, don't be afraid of at least considering it. Put that on the table to look at and see how you feel about it, and do what you will. Experiment with that. But I think that you should try this elimination process first before you start adding things.
Okay, cool. All right, man. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, just try to keep a...
Jesus, where are my smelling salts?
Sorry.
Where are my smelling salts?
They got lost in Zarian's eyebrows.
That's actually, again, that's 2.
You guys are a little obsessed there with Zarian and eyebrows today. I don't know.
I got to tell you, they are beautiful.
Have you seen those eyebrows? There's a lot to be obsessed about.
I have. They're very special.
Telling you.
They are special eyebrows, man.
They're dreamy.
It's unbelievable. He's got eyelashes like a camel. All right, dude.
I'm just projecting my jealousy. That's all. But
hey, look, I hang around him so I look good. So actually, does that make sense? Actually, it's the other way around. He hangs around me so he looks better. Anyway, all right, dude. Nico, I appreciate the call.
You bet. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks for calling.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Thank you guys for joining us on our special 3 p.m. broadcast of The Bald Truth on Friday. And we're going to take some more calls. Seems like people are interested. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is James from Texas.
James, what's happening, man? How are you?
Hey, not much. This is James.
Who? James from where?
James, did you have your surgery, James? Oh, you did?
No, I have not.
You didn't have it?
No, I think you might be confusing me with someone else. Or...
I think I am. I confuse people all the time.
I couldn't tell if you were messing with me or...
No, I'm literally just confused at this point in my life.
I was messing with you. I know you were.
Okay. I was gonna say I can completely act like I'm a new person and just give you a different situation. And...
That'd be great. We need more content.
Yeah.
So what's up?
Yeah. Not much. I was actually just here watching the different conversations that you had, and it's interesting because as each caller calls in, everybody has a different situation and different question, and whether it's PRP to the hair transplants to the inflammation. And the Propecia dosage, and I always have like a conversation, a question in mind. I guess one, I'm just kind of freestyling it, so I don't have anything in particular. I'm just gonna. One was the other day I was reading that finasteride can improve one's hair loss. I guess they measure it by square inch, right? Or is that what it's called?
It's square centimeter usually.
Square centimeter. Yeah, something like that.
Which I always found that interesting because, here in the U.S., we don't use the metric system. But if it has to do with medicine or anything, they go to metrics, just because it sounds more difficult.
It's actually because it's standardized across the world.
Oh,
and,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Joe's always got to one-up me.
Just got to keep things.
That's true. I was terrified as a kid when I thought we were going to have to switch over to the metric system.
I was too.
Gave me anxiety. Unbelievable. Okay, so what was your question, dude?
Yeah, so like I was reading about finasteride and you said square centimeter, right? That's how they measure the improvement in hair, like the number of hairs.
That's how
hair count.
they count hairs within a square centimeter.
Right, and I think the range was, the numbers were, I don't know exact numbers because I don't have a computer in front of me or whatever. Somewhere between 100 to 200, and somewhere within that range was like improvement. But then I read somewhere else that someone who doesn't suffer from hair loss, I guess, the average number of hair per square centimeter is like, I want to say like in the 1,000 number of hairs, which is like amazing.
That would be unbelievable.
That would be incredible.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe if you're a beaver.
Yeah. Try maybe 100. It could be less depending on your,
Is it really?
if you're blonde,
Or
it depends on whether you're Asian. Hold on, someone's bothering me.
Are you talking about follicular units, not hairs?
Yeah, we're talking about follicular units per square centimeters.
Yeah, so it depends on ethnicity, but Caucasians with lighter hair tend to have a higher density per square centimeter than other groups, whereas Africans or African hair has the lowest density, and then you got Asians, and then you're back up to Caucasians where the density is higher, and then the type of hair, like on Caucasians, black coarse hair has a lower density than the lighter colored hair, and fewer hairs per follicular unit on average as well.
Yeah, I guess I should have really looked into it. I don't remember if it was I don't know my material very well. Something, I guess you said units, right, or hairs, but something to that effect. I remember people stating that on average, before hair loss, one has on their head approximately 100,000. What was it? Hair or
follicular units?
Follicular units. Okay, so that's like okay. And so with that said, that's pretty amazing to think, especially for someone, even if you have a transplant, like let's say you're a Norwood 7, like what do you think the numbers are for someone with a Norwood 7, like to go from 100 to go all the way to, or transition or progress all the way to a Norwood 7, what is left at that point? Like, what would you estimate? I know it's not an accurate number, but approximately, would you say like it's less than half, like less than 50?
Far less than half. And you know what? I'm actually getting confused now. Maybe it is 100,000 hairs on the head.
It is 100,000 hairs on the head.
It is. Yeah. It actually. You know what? It is, because I remember thinking that I've had roughly a quarter of that transplanted from the donor zone into the recipient area of my scalp.
Yeah, just so you know, they consider extremely dense packing, which is difficult to do. Not everyone has the same tissue quality. Doctors, some clinics will claim they can do 50 grafts per square centimeter, which can give you, 100, sometime, depending on how big the grafts are, 150 hairs per square centimeter. Never really made sense to me, because that seemed like a lot that you don't really need. But if I get your question right, you're asking if you go to full-blown Norwood 7, how much coverage can you get out of the donor? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, basically, because it's it said that the one with no hair loss has approximately, 100,000, what'd you say, hairs? Or
100,000 hairs on the scalp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand,
All right,
and
so
then, let's say
put it this way. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, it depends on the placement. Like if you're trying to, like, what are you trying to do as a Norwood 7? Are you trying to get as much coverage as possible, or are you trying to, restore your original hairline and then coverage behind that as much as possible? If you go to a doctor that has experience and a good aesthetic about the way that he or she is placing grafts, you can get full coverage. But then again, what is full coverage? Is full coverage, does that mean no scalp is visible, or all the scalp is covered to a degree, but not to that of a full head of hair? Right? I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. It's like, I was almost a Norwood 7 myself. I have more than full coverage. I have complete coverage, but it's not full density. And that's the thing. You don't need to have full density, because when you have the right amount of coverage, the coverage gives you the illusion of density because of the way that the grafts are laid, and that comes back into the surgical skill and the aesthetic of the physician, because the way that you place the grafts will determine how they lay on top of each other, if they land on top of each other at all, and how much coverage you get from that placement. There are a lot of variables that go into it, but you can get really good coverage even on a Norwood 7, depending on the procedure and who's performing it.
Yeah, I guess it's like the appearance of a full head of hair, right? But which brings me to another question. I'll let you bring that up about your situation. For someone who went, I mean, because at one point you had a full head of hair, right? Everyone does. But let's say at that point you were at 100%. What percentage would you estimate that you are at now from when you first had a full head of hair? Like, what percentage are you down to now? I know you have
probably
hair in
20.
Your head.
It all makes sense to me that I'm probably about 25% of where I was before I lost hair.
Okay, so you'd say you probably lost 75% of what you had before hair loss.
It's really hard to quantify that, but based on the numbers alone, if we assume that I had 100,000 hairs on my scalp at one point, with the number of grafts that I've had transplanted in my lifetime, which is, if we convert my first 2 surgeries, which were mini micrograft sessions, into follicular unit sessions, they equate roughly 2,000 follicular units. So put that on top of what I've had with Dr. Wong, I've got about 12,000 grafts. But then when you factor in the fact that I'm Caucasian and my average hair count per graft per follicular unit would be roughly 2.2 to 2.3 hairs, that means that I've got roughly 25 to 26,000 hairs transplanted from my donor zone. And if we go back to that 100,000 average, then I've got an average of 25% of my hair restored. But it looks like it's more than that simply because of the way that I style it, the way that the grafts were placed, the way that it grows, the angle, direction, all that. The contrast between my hair color and my scalp color, which is another big issue. I mean, all these factors came together to give me a significant amount of coverage given where I started.
And that's what's scary, is that that one loses hair to that extent, because you'll always have, I guess there's a finite number of a donor hair.
Think about it logically. If you average 100,000 hairs on your scalp, and you progress to Norwood 7, even if the donor wreath is perfectly intact, you still lose some of your temporal points, and you're only able to move, maybe, if you're lucky, 10,000 grafts, and that's a lot of grafts.
Yeah.
It's more than most get.
You can never have enough supply to meet the demand. So you're talking about, out of 100,000 hairs, if you can move 10,000 grafts, you've lost, if you're Norwood 7, you've lost 85% of your hair on your scalp. And you're moving back to replace, to give you the illusion of coverage, a much smaller percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's scary too, because even if when someone acknowledges or realizes that they have hair loss and they get on finasteride or Propecia or even dutasteride, you start to think like, well, how much have you already lost? Like, what percentage? It's like a full glass of water, right? Let's say.
As soon as you notice your hair loss, you've lost about, on average, 50% of hair in that given area. So if you notice that your hairline is thinning, that means that your hairline is thinned out by half of what it was in order for you to visibly see it. That's why, a good goal for a hair transplant surgeon is to try to replace between 30 and 50% of what God gave you in that, per square centimeter, to give you the illusion of a full-looking head of hair.
Yeah, that's what's scary about the whole, even on medication, even if you finally man up and build up the courage to finally take it, that you're already you're already left behind. Like you should have taken it yesterday.
This is that's why this is such the most nuanced and one of the most difficult cosmetic procedures or cosmetic surgeries to really do well and pull off correctly, because everything, it has to be a perfect storm, angled, from dissection, extraction, dissection, angle direction, graft placement, or direction of the recipient sites, graft placement. Just making a judgment of how to weigh the grafts depending on how you want to wear your hair, so you can get the illusion of the most coverage. Yeah. There's so many factors involved. That's why you can't just go to some chop shop. That's why we're so adamant about this.
Yeah.
That's why you've got a bigger problem than ever today, of clinics stealing photos from other clinics. It is out of control. Out of control. One of the guys in the chat room, FSK, was talking about a doctor that's got some fairly good exposure. I'm not going to say where or names or anything like that. Was busted publicly for using I think it was a photo from Hasselwang of all places, and his excuse was, "Oh, I changed marketing companies." How does that even happen? Where's the logic in how does that excuse, and this is hearsay, I don't know if this is what actually happened, but how does that excuse logically explain anything?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. So more than ever, buyer beware. I feel bad for people that are researching their options today, because it was really hard for me simply because the internet wasn't really available in its current form. When I was doing, it actually didn't exist at all, except for direct lines between schools and research institutions back in the 90s. But it just didn't exist, the ability to research like we have now. But it was safer for me then, because if I had actually thought about it, I could have just tried to meet patients and speak with them, see it firsthand. Now, you guys can't even trust what clinics are putting up nowadays, even clinics that have names that you might have heard of before, where there are reviews on Real Self or What Clinic Doc, whatever those other review sites are. How the hell can anyone legitimately feel good about their decision? It's really crazy. That's why
that's all the whole marketing. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all marketing, but that's why I feel that it's important for people to at least start with resources that are bona fide, that are legitimate. And that's why I use the IAHRS as a standard requirement for anyone that I'm considering working with for membership on my website. You got to have these legitimate credentials to, I think, to be considered seriously in this industry anymore.
Well,
and
I appreciate that, but I
feel bad for the consumer.
That I feel bad for the consumer. And again, we were talking about, I don't mean to cut you off, Oliver, talking about this article that came out yesterday, or on the 20th. That was yesterday, right? 2 days ago.
No,
and
2 days ago.
I just felt that, and you can't blame the ISHRS for the way these tabloids decide to report things. But what I did try to explain to this doctor is, if you're out there trying to really help patients, really help them make better informed decisions, you have to work and create a narrative that you can control, that is not just out of your hands given to some reporter who's going to report on anything that's salacious and then make it as though, well, if you go here, everything's bad, but if you come to one of our doctors who are registered in the UK, you're going to have a great job. You're going to have a better chance of having a good outcome. That's just inaccurate information. That's false information. And it is harder than ever before. The media is doing it. Even the bigger organizations are putting this information out there, unfortunately. And it is a false narrative that I believe is harming a lot of patients. So Joe is absolutely right. It's more difficult than ever before to make a good decision. Sadly, the IHS, we have a very small group of physicians who, at this stage, make the grade. We've started an associate membership program, so that's growing. But it's so hard to find guys who really give a shit. I mean, they're just going away. You know, so if you decide to get a hair transplant, man, you really got to do your fucking homework. And, you know, the questions that you're asking, to me, it sounds like you probably have a pretty decent head of hair at this point, and you're worried about the long term, the long run, and your future. Is that right?
Yeah. If you look at me, I mean, you wouldn't really know that I have hair loss because it looks like I have a diffuse hair loss, so it look like I have a full head of hair, but I acknowledge it because I guess in the past, you know, I noticed a slight recession, even though my hairline's pretty much maintained, but yeah, they're definitely not as thick as it once was. But to the average untrained eye,
you've got diffused hair loss, and you only recently started taking finasteride, right? Like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, I'm about 4 months in, and I was the one asking about the finasteride. I guess because of that fear, I just have such this fear. Like, damn, even if you're on the medication, you've lost all this hair.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, first, okay, so you're concerned about these about, you know, the Norwood 7s and how much hair do you need and all this. You're thinking about the surgery. The best thing you can do, the percentage talk. Honestly, it's going to do two things. It's going to confuse you and it's going to depress you. So just stop.
And Joe's right, actually, because it really is a depressing thought. Because if you do progress to that point, your options are extremely limited when it comes to surgical hair restoration. Joe is an anomaly, and you know, you're probably not going to have the type of result that Joe has as a Norwood 7. That's just the way that it is. But if you do your research, you understand the entire scope of this, you know, of what's going on. If medication works for you to a certain degree, you may utilize your grafts more effectively. You may decide to do what some people do, build up their temporal points if you need them, and then wear hair in the front, or just build up your temporal points in your hairline so you have a really nice frame of the face without worrying about filling in the mid-anterior scalp or the crown, you know, and then slowly go into the mid-anterior scalp. You know, it's all about staging properly and planning properly if this is the route you want to go.
Well, no, I'm nowhere near a transplant, but I guess I was just kind of thinking about, how, like you said, how depressing it is. Like once you acknowledge that or become aware of your hair loss, you're already possibly at 50% of what you once was. Which is incredible. Like, wow, how did I not realize this at 90 or at 80% or 70%, 60? It gets to a point where like, wow, I'm at 50, and this needs to stop like yesterday. I need, you know.
Well, it's to some people it's a little noticeable. They see that their hair isn't it's not behaving correctly, so they change shampoos or they don't know what's going on. But they start to freak out when someone either points it out that their hairline is receding, or if they happen to catch themselves in a mirror with a overhead light. I mean, you see me in a restaurant, dude. I will switch seats 10 times. I don't give a fuck. Too much light here. I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But, you know. But honestly, dude, you are early days. So see how finasteride works. Don't even think about your long-term options right now, because Joe said, it could depress the shit out of you.
Yeah, and this is something it's not always on my mind, but I'm just kind of like, I guess thinking as I always see something and then I wonder. My mind wonders a lot. I have a lot of questions, which makes me think another thing to add to that. The hair follicles, like what I know, you may have been asked this several times, but do hair follicles die? I know some people have different answers, but I think that's a really, really interesting question, because if they don't, that, you know, like we were, again, the percentage talk, right? It's like, if that is there, but it's just not, you have the illusion that it's not there, there's hope.
Well, that's the thing, you know, there has been, you know, when I first got into this field, the thought was that hair follicles do die from male pattern hair loss or androgenic alopecia in time. Now, or in the last decade and a half, the thought is that they basically remain dormant, and some will produce, most will produce very fine or vellus hair. So if you look closely at a balding man's scalp, you'll see very, very faint, fine hair. It doesn't look like formica. You know what I mean? It's not like alopecia areata. I mean, there's a very small amount of peach fuzz and a small, miniaturized, weakened, immature hair that is kind of cycling in that hair follicle. So the key
for Norwood 7, they have that peach.
Most, yeah. If you look closely enough, you will see a very fine, like peach fuzz, just like on some, like kind of like you see on on people's faces.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
So what do you think that means? Do you think there's hope, possibly, for something that has not been discovered yet, maybe, to revive the?
Yeah, look, listen. I think that they were able to figure out some sort of cellular process or a gene therapy to reverse that process, or to kind of like somehow interfere with the gene that's causing hair loss and just reverse the entire thing. Yeah, you're going to have hair follicles that will eventually, once that happens, that will grow normally. If they are no longer sensitive to DHT, they will start to grow.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess the part of it.
I'll be dead by the time that happens, dude. I'll be long gone.
Wow.
Well,
I mean, that would be amazing if one day. I mean, who knows? What if they do? I mean, who's to say? Now, I don't know when you learned about your hair loss, but I'm sure it was sometime before the 90s or 90s, maybe. But finasteride came out, right? And I don't know if there was talks of or buildup, or I don't know how quickly that came out, but I guess that's the most effective.
My very first program, June of 1998, WABC Radio. The focus was on hair cloning. And we were talking about a guy in the Netherlands who is still doing transplants. So
yeah,
the reality is I am convinced that unless a miracle occurs, unless there is some sudden accidental breakthrough tomorrow, this is what we got right now. You got to deal with it. This is reality.
Yeah. Come on, sudden accidental breakthrough. I'm waiting for you.
Well, everyone is, man. But listen, we're going to go. We're going to take some more calls.
Okay.
Always appreciate the questions, man. And thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks a lot for hanging in there and listening for, how long have you been listening to the show?
Since, last year, March last year. So about a year.
All right, man. Well, listen, thanks for the call. Appreciate your patronage, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for answering my random questions.
Oh, you know what? Everyone has the same fucking questions. It's good.
Yeah.
People out there who are listening have your questions, so we just answered for them. So.
Well, I'll have some more next time.
All right, man. Write them down this time.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm just kidding. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, too. Bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show. And I want to get back to that article that was in the UK tabloids about traveling abroad for hair transplants and just the sensationalism of it. And I really felt, sadly, and again, I'm not blaming the ISHRS. I don't know what they presented to these reporters, but I mean, there has to be someone who's more sophisticated in their media department that would say, you know what, things may not go the way we want them to go. And once you put this out there in the hands of a journalist, and this is in quotes, you never know what's going to come out of the other side. That is a lesson that I learned twice the hard way. Once was one of my first articles, but it wasn't terrible. And another one was, I was about 5 years into the game in 2003 when the Washington Post did 2 pages on me and the show. And I had given them some information that I probably should not have given them, meaning people to contact in the industry to kind of give the other side of what I do because I'm obviously a polarizing figure. And they ended up contacting, you guys don't know who he is, but his name was Matt Levitt. And he was part of this and some other guys who basically attempted to destroy my credibility in the Washington Post. Now, that was my mistake. I admit that mistake. But what I also learned from that mistake, and it wasn't terrible because, I mean, that article was picked up everywhere, and books were flying off the shelves. So it was good, just kind of like the Howard Stern thing. But what I learned was, you're not going to get your story told the way you want it to be told. So if you're going to go out there and send out press releases, there's always going to be a chance that it's not, especially when it's something of this nature, where you're trying to put something out there that's controversial or salacious or sexy. Things are going to be changed, manipulated, not necessarily, intentionally inaccurate information is going to be put out there, but a lot of times that happens. You need to be in a position where you can control the narrative, especially when you're dealing with people's well-being, their mental health, and their lives. And I think that's the only mistake that they made. But I have been told that, I mean, these guys are very upset that I criticized their effort, Joe. Very upset. I mean, they're very, very upset. Taking it personally.
Well, I think that's a big mistake. None of the criticism. Look, the issue is this: there's a big problem in this industry, and for people that I believe do not understand the very fundamentals of how to present the industry to the public, I think it's a mistake for them to assume that they know how to get the message across about how to be safe in this industry. Right. And everything I've seen, what's the word I'm looking for? Reinforces that. And look, the way that this has been going on for the past couple of years, actually, before you and I even met, long ago started the whole idea of consumer advocacy, and that's what your entire career has been built on. And for anyone to ignore, and that's exactly what happened, to ignore your input, your suggestions, your guidance, I think it's a mistake. And for to go further, to look at your guidance as not just criticism, but as attacks, I think that's frankly short-sighted, and there's a lack of awareness, I think, with that approach or that perception.
Yeah, and that's very diplomatic.
And it's unfortunate.
You're right. And listen, I don't even want to talk. I have made a decision, even after today's phone call, but before the phone call, I thought about this after I saw 40 comments and people being called out who never post to comment on this thing. I realized, you know what? It is sadly in the minds of some of these people, Ricardo Mejia, in my view, and just some sort of bizarre competition. We're not working together, and I just have to work with physicians in this field who really want to change things. Put their ego aside, understand that we all have to somehow make a living doing what we do, and to worry about Spencer Kobren making a living, saving people's lives, is the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard.
It's just confusing. It's like I can't even relate to that mindset to really dissect it. I mean, where do you begin?
It makes absolutely zero sense. It's as though if I asked Dr. Mejia to take down his, advertisements on Let me get there. On Instagram, promoting Black Friday specials. Because I know that you're doing that to somehow make a living. He would say, well, what's wrong with that? Everyone has to make a living. Now, to me, that's the irony of the whole thing. We're out here not selling anything, giving people the truth. We're both in a position to completely change this field. You know, the black market would probably, it certainly wouldn't exist to the level that it does right now. And people would be essentially scared straight, given the truth. A story that we do every week would be a narrative. It would be told to the world in a much bigger way than it is right now.
Well, the proof is there to back that up, because with the calls that we've had today,
of course,
and the calls that we get every week, the emails that you get, the emails that I get, but publicly affirmed through this show. When people are calling in, like the first caller, Daniel, 38 years old, we saved his life.
Absolutely.
He has staved off surgery because of the show.
Right.
He's stuck to the medications because of the show.
And
because of the message that surgery is the last resort.
And it's the message, but it's also the story. We bring people into the story. You know, they kind of feel what can possibly happen to them. They understand, you know, we make it clear what the entire scope and possible pitfalls of this is. And we give them the information they need to make informed decisions. We don't have to show them pictures of scary butchered heads. All we have to do is open up our phone lines and let our callers tell us about what happened to them. That's powerful. And that's what really helps people, in my view. You bring them in, you get them involved, you get them to participate. You figure out why they are even interested in going this route. And then you kind of help them assess whether or not they even make a good candidate. There's no absolutes in this field. You can't just show, listen, when the anti-smoking crusade came out, right? I mean, basically they skull and crossbones, all that stuff, that works because the thing was to eradicate cigarette smoking. Yeah. That's why that works. That doesn't work in this field.
The message is different. It's going to kill you.
Absolutely. Not, here's a skull and crossbones. This could happen to you unless you come to us and give us your money.
Which, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, the message has to be finessed, and it has to be. It's just not. It's not palatable, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to go on this rant anymore, but there's just so much that can be done. There's so many guys that really care about this field who could help people. I just don't see why we don't get together and make it happen. I don't understand it.
Well, the door is always open.
888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello, guys. It's Graham from Australia.
Graham from Australia. How are you, man? You
Graham.
got through. How'd you call us?
Good. Yeah, I've called you just through my mobile and the toll-free number. And, it's an honor to talk to both of you guys, because I want to share my experience to let everyone know what actually goes on out there and when I started to lose my hair. And I'm 46 years old now, so I want to let people know this is how my story went.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm here, man. This is exciting.
Fire it up.
All right. So basically when I was about 20 years old, I noticed my hair was receding at the front, and then the panic set in. This would have been in probably around 95, somewhere around there. So, what do? I go to Advanced Hair Studios.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Going there.
I've heard a lot of people talking about that particular place, saying exactly what you said.
Very, very young, very stupid, panicking, thinking, I've got to get hair or I'm not going to pick up a chick, la-di-da-di-da. all those sorts of things that young people think. And this is what you think. You know, you come in, you're in your teens, you're basically going out there and you want everything on your side. So I went to Advanced Hair Studios, had a hair system hooked on, which was absolutely painful. Got rid of it within 2 weeks, was totally embarrassed about it.
Now, when you say painful,
Now
was it actually sewn in or was it glued on?
Or did they make the what's that?
They use like little clips, like they were like little beads, and they press them with pliers.
Oh man!
So basically, it would hook into the hair around the side of your head. So if you pull the side of your head, it creates pain, and you think to yourself, you've got this thing stuck on your head, and it doesn't even feel like you or look like you. So within 2 weeks, I got rid of that straight away. So then I went through the process of, what am I going to do now? And all the years were going on. And then, of course, finasteride come out. Jumped onto finasteride, absolute fantastic medication for growing back hair. Done absolute wonders, but I was one of the unlucky ones that got the side effects from it. But then I was staying with it because I thought, this is a confidence thing. And I stayed on it for about 6 years and thought to myself, I've got to get off this. I've got to get off this medication. It's time to, just move on. Not because I wanted to, because I was one that suffered the side effects, And when I did go off it, it took probably a good 7 months to be pretty much back to normal with how I felt. And that 7 months was a long time. A long time when you've got, like, brain, sort of that, what you call the brain fog and, just not feeling yourself and the sexual problems and things like that come with it. So that was me, and that was honestly me. So then basically in the end, my hair was getting a little thinner, and I decided to shave it. I've got a partner. Everything's as good as gold. And then up to about a year ago, I was playing guitar on stage, overseas, and I had my hair pretty short, and I could see with the lights, and I could see, the bald scalp, and I didn't like it, so I started looking at the hair transplant thing again and the FUE. And then after listening to your show, I realised that it's very hard to achieve that result that you really want in your mind. And if it does go wrong, I'm going to live with it, and I'm going to hate myself forever. So that's where I'm at, and I've decided not to go under the knife now, because of listening to your show and doing the research properly. Even though I would love hair, I love the result, but it's not going to happen.
And and I appreciate you letting people know this and taking the time to call from Australia. It is not that, and obviously Joe and I are not anti-hair transplant, but if you're not a candidate, and if you aren't prepared for all the possible situations that could arise from surgery, which means you're not a candidate, you got to put it off. And, there's a lot of guys who, you have, it sounds like you've progressed to it, significantly. You also shave your head or cut it very closely. I mean, anyone who can live their life like that, in my view, should never take the risk. It's only when you can't live your life that way. It's only when, you really feel the only way you can move on is if you improve your appearance to some degree or improve your hair to some degree and realize what the limitations are with surgical hair restoration. But most guys they're not given this information.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing too. When you're young and you just say you're the first one to recede out of all your friends, and it's devastating at the time, and this is what a lot of your callers will go through. But as the years goes on, and I've seen a lot of my friends, they've lost a lot more hair than me. So it becomes, this is life, this is how it is. Until there's that miracle breakthrough, which there's not, don't worry about it. Don't let it worry you like your caller had before. He seems to be too involved.
I am people call me, my friends, like the Grim Reaper, because eventually everyone will call me to ask about hair advice. That's just the way that it is. It's part of life. Your contemporaries, as you get older, most guys, it's the rare guy that doesn't have any hair loss after the age of 35. Most guys have some degree of hair loss. So you're right that this guy, and I'm glad that you brought that up. He's right now he's young and he's obsessed with it, and he's asking about his future, and he's trying us. He wants us to have a crystal ball to help him to predict his future, and you can't do that. If you think like that, you're just going to become a mental case.
And there are a lot of guys out there just like him. I hear from them all the time. Every day throughout my entire career, I've heard from at least one, I would say probably once a day, I've heard from someone that has this idea that I can tell them where they're going to be, 10 years from now, as far as their hair loss goes, and, open up a crystal ball just like today. And it's not possible. I mean, total hair loss based on patterns, that can be seen, but when you throw in all the variables, the medications and genetics, I mean, so many things out there that we can't really see. No one has the answers, and it's sad and it's upsetting to know that there's so many people out there that are desperately searching for an answer about the future and getting depressed about it and becoming obsessed by it and developing OCD about it and just really having their lives altered drastically because of this issue.
Absolutely.
So, dude, you're the guy. You're the guy that is liking my stuff on Instagram, right?
Yes, correct. That's me. Yeah.
You're the best, man. Thank you so much. We're trying to build up that page. It just kind of started it. So, guys, follow me on @SpencerKobren on Instagram. So, tell me, what would you like to see as content? I mean, how do you feel the content is so far that I'm putting up?
The content's good because it's honest, and the thing is, what I like about you guys, you will tell people what they don't want to hear, and that's the difference between these hair studios and places. They will tell you what they think you can achieve, and the odds are you won't achieve that result. And this is the thing. I like the honesty. I like that you swear. I like that you're straight down the line. I like that you take the shit from these doctors and other people because the results are not there. And if you make that mistake, you will going to live with it for the rest of your life. And that's the hardest thing. Go on the Propecia, try minoxidil. They're the only two things that really work. And one thing I am trying at the moment, I thought I will try it, is the topical finasteride I'm trying.
Sure.
And I've been on that. I've been on that for about a month and a half, and I've found I can feel my hair's a lot better. Results-wise, you could just see it's a little bit different, but I will give you a call back in 6 months and tell you the honest result, and I will tell you honestly the results. Not if it's working or it's not working. This is the thing. There is not enough honesty in the hair loss industry, and that's what I want to tell everyone, not to worry about it, So
I appreciate the call, and not enough honesty. There is, in my view, very little to no honesty in the hair loss industry. It is so difficult to find, and that's why I find it fascinating and interesting. And I know people are disappointed when they go and see Bob Bernstein, for instance, for a consultation, and he's a little gruff and says, your donor sucks or whatever. I mean, why wouldn't you want to know that? We need more of that.
Yes.
So, well, listen, man,
that's
go ahead.
The thing. Yeah, go. That's the thing. That's what these people need to know. And honestly, for the people out there who are losing their hair, you're the one that notices it the most. When you shave it short and you have it clean, I guarantee you, when you're in your 30s or late 30s, no one will blink an eye, man. That's the honest to God truth. But when you're young, it's hard.
Yes, it is.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about, so that's the honest to God truth. And
look, if I didn't start to lose my hair at a young age, I wouldn't be doing this. And it's because of that age. It's because I started to notice it at 21. is why I became so obsessed and why I turned like my Achilles heel into my career. I'm not sure if I would have been in the same position or I would have done that if I started to lose my hair at 33 or 35, and I probably would have been on another career path. And also, I don't know if I would have been. I mean, I know I myself, I wouldn't have been happy with it, and I probably would have been obsessed with it. But I don't know if I would have brought it or gotten it to this level if I didn't start to lose my hair at 21. And I also have to thank guys like Norman Orenreich and some of the OG hair transplant guys for really opening up my eyes. And you know, I thank, listen, Cy Sperling and I are friendly. We're friends. But I thank the hair club for trying to sell me a wig and me having to, like, basically browbeat them until they told me what it was. Because it gave me all the ammunition, the information I needed to realize this is a really fucked up, scary industry for a vulnerable person.
It is. It is. And I was that person, but as much as the internet is good and as much as the internet is bad, if you do your research on the internet, you can get the answers. And that's how I found shows like yours. And like you said, there's a lot of people out there, you know, they'll talk, you can hear it's copy and pasted stuff that they've read, and then they're saying, you know, buy this derma roller and it'll fix your hair loss. It's not that easy. And that's the.
If it was that easy, if that easy, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be doing this. That's the thing.
Yes.
People need to know that there's no cure coming around the corner tomorrow. Hair transplant is not going to solve your problems. It's not going to give you a better life unless you understand what it can actually do for you and what the limitations are. Getting a hairpiece, you can get a great hairpiece today if you want. It doesn't have to be old school tied
There's
in.
some incredible pieces out there
with beads. You know, you can get something very extremely light, but you got to look like you're balding. If you want to make it look good, you can't be walking around with an Elvis hairstyle. You know. There are limitations to all the possible solutions that people just have to be aware of. And that's the problem with the industry. They don't provide those limitations because they're afraid they're going to lose sales. But the reality is most people want their hair bad enough that if they're prepared or better informed, they'll make decisions that will still get them closer to where they want to go, but they won't be disappointed. And then they won't be a pain in the ass to your business or to your practice. That's what I try to tell these doctors. So
that's part of why, you know, the message is don't have a hair transplant, because if someone like my first hair transplant class don't have a hair transplant, the entire video is talking about the things that can go wrong. I didn't even cover everything. The things that can go wrong with a hair transplant. And the idea is if someone gets through that video, and then the other classes where I'm talking about the downsides, and they still want to have a hair transplant, it means they'll be a far better patient because at least they're informed. And if shit hits the fan, they're not going to be, you know, completely distraught publicly on all the forums and, you know, YouTube and stuff like that.
They're not going to be taken off guard. They're going to be prepared.
Yeah, they're going to be like, okay, I kind of knew this might be a problem. Okay, it sucks. It always sucks, but it's not a surprise. It's not something that comes out of left field. Therefore, they're going to be a better patient. And patients that have great results are better patients because of it as well.
Well, listen, dude, you're calling on my 800 number from Australia, so I gotta drop you.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
I'm busting your balls. My timing, I'm not landing tonight. My timing's a little off. But listen, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to call from Australia. I appreciate the fact that you actually comment and like my posts on Instagram. It means a lot because I would love to build that page. The hard thing about that is, like you said, I'm out there telling the truth. I'm not out there, you know, showing pictures of, you know, pumped up in a muscle shirt or some hot chick, you know, on my arm, or all the stuff that you see on Instagram. You know, it's just some guy sitting behind the mic talking about hair loss. That's a tough gig. So
that's a tough gig.
Yeah. So I appreciate your support, man.
But it's an honest gig, and that's what the industry needs. The honesty that's what's missing, and that's what we've talked about for the last 15 minutes. But I'll let you go, guys. You got other callers, and fantastic show, and keep looking after the people out there.
We will, and thank you so much for telling your story, man.
Thanks for calling, Graham.
Take care.
All right.
All
See
right.
you, Joe. See you, Spence.
All right,
Take care,
Graham.
guys.
Take care.
Take
Bye-bye. You want to take one more call?
Let's do it.
All
Great
right.
call,
Yes.
by the way.
He's a great guy. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Spencer?
Yes, it is Spencer.
Hello.
And Joe.
Hi. Who's this?
How guys doing? It's John from Florida.
John from Florida. What's happening, man?
Hello, John.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Chilling. How's your head, man?
How's my head? That's the question. So I have a question for you guys. So recently I added topical finasteride to my, regime or whatever you want to call it. And I kind of want to know if I'm wasting my time or not. With it, like, what do you guys think about it?
Think about what? I'm sorry.
Topical finasteride.
Listen, we're both fans of it. We have seen there's some anecdotal evidence that shows guys are seem to be getting some response. But you are the guy that had a hair transplant with the hairline too low, and then you had to have it lasered off. Is that you?
Yeah.
All right. Now, how's your situation with that right now?
It's like I'm still doing the laser procedures, and it's gone pretty good. But I'm still looking for to get the issue resolved. And I actually had two questions. Because I wanted to see if those topical finasteride, do they work after you've already had surgery? Like, for instance, since they're making incisions and stuff in your head, does that make it harder for the treatments to work?
Well, anywhere that you have scar tissue, it's unlikely that those hair follicles are intact. So, I mean, they're gone. They've been cut away. They're cut out. That's it.
Right, so it's harder to regrow hair.
Well, you're not going to regrow hair and scar tissue unless hair is reimplanted into that area. But it doesn't mean that treatment can't work with the native hair that you have.
Correct. So you guys think so it is worth it to add it in, to just see if you can regrow. Because my main goal is to regrow hair where the transplant kind of failed. I know that's hard. It's not likely because
that's a tough. That's a tough goal. I'm going to let Joe respond to that.
What was your hair loss pattern like to begin with? Was it just receded hairline that you're trying to get fixed?
It was before I had the surgery. It was probably a Norwood. I would say 3. I would say around there.
Okay. Yeah, and was it completely barren?
No, there was hair. Even when I had the surgery, if it wasn't for the doctor going, too low, if he would have kept where the hairline was, I still had hair all along that area.
Okay.
But he went into that area, if you know what I'm saying. He went
right
in back of where the hair was even placed.
And did you have? And sorry for the questions. I don't remember the details, but did you have shock loss of the native hair from the procedure, or did that come back to?
I did. I would say I did because I wasn't on finasteride, and after the surgery, I stopped using minoxidil as well. So I think that I might have, probably carpet bombed that whole area there.
Okay, so I think that how long have you been using the topical finasteride now?
I just got it. I've been using it for a month now.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think the possibility of bringing your hairline back to the way it used to be before you started losing it, I think that's unlikely. But bringing the hair back that was shocked, that might occur to a degree because your topical finasteride might have minoxidil in it. You might have, obviously, the finasteride, but you might have also depending on where you get it from, maybe retin-A or maybe even there's another ingredient some people use, caffeine, something like that. You might get something, but don't expect a lot if you do get something. I don't want to say that you're wasting your time or your money, but I think that at the very least, use the topical finasteride for the rest of your scalp to maintain that. And if you get something back in the hairline where the hair was lost, then consider it a bonus. But you don't want to continue to lose hair. So that's why I think that the finasteride, topical finasteride, is where its biggest value is for you.
Correct. No, it just seems like a pain to, because it says on the bottle to use, I think, 3 to 5 sprays, but I find myself using like 10 sprays because like it's just very hard because I keep my hair pretty long, so like to get it on the scalp, it's pretty difficult. So like it'll be pretty expensive if I use it and keep having to use 10 sprays.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but also keep in mind that if you go through your prescription too fast, your pharmacy, like, depends on how many refills you have, but if you go through your refills at an accelerated rate because you're spraying on more of the medication than you're directed to, the pharmacy may halt your refills until they can confirm with your, I mean, you may run into issues with this because clinics, when they see that refills are being used faster than they should based on the medication's indications, they'll stop giving you the medication until it can be cleared up as to why you're using more than you should. They don't like it when you use more than directed by the physician, depending on where you go. But just be aware of that. So I wouldn't be that guy that thinks, oh, if I just apply as much as I can, I'll get a better result. It doesn't always work like that.
Oh yeah, like me, it's just because I want to get it into the scalp, so I make sure that like I'm using much. But like I'm getting it from Dr. Ballback's office, so I'm not sure if, like I'm not really getting it from like a direct pharmacy. So I'm getting it shipped to me from there. But like I just kind of wanted to see if that was actually worth it and stuff. But
doesn't he have a mix? Isn't he providing a mix that has minoxidil and some other ingredients in it?
He does, but like I went for like the most minor one. Like I think it's 0.5, just to see how I reacted to it, because I didn't want to go like like the best one he had, and then like have like a massive shed. I wanted to like just try to get like a little bit and see if it it actually worked. I think it's 0.5 if I'm not mistaken, 0.5 milliliters. And yeah, like I just wanted to see if that was worth it. But yeah, like I just wanted to know if like when you do have surgery, if these topicals like minoxidil, finasteride, like all these things you put on your head, they actually work because there's already been surgery. There's already been like a bunch of holes in your scalp and stuff. And
the scar tissue forms from that. Depending on the size of the incisions and how many there were, I mean, there might be some sort of reduction of absorption. But in general, scar tissue is vascular, quite vascular in many cases, like healthy skin tissue. So I wouldn't put too much concern on that. Just use the medication as directed and see what happens.
All right, man. Listen, wish you the best of luck. Glad that you're still listening to the program. Let us know what your.
How did the question?
You got another question? We got to take one more call, dude. All right, what? What's up?
All right. So like I'm strongly thinking of going to Dr. Rahal for my repair, and I know that Joe like he worked in the clinic before, and like I'm not sure if if he's allowed to say anything or anything like that, but I just wanted to know like what his experience was there and like what his like what he thinks about him.
I know Dr. Rahal well. We still communicate, not often recently, but usually quite often. However, it's been 5 years now since I left, almost 5 years. I have no idea what it's like there now. So my experience there back then doesn't really apply to today, because I know that he's changed his protocols at least 4 times. I think 4 times since I've left, that he's told me about. And I like him. I just don't know what he's doing in the clinic anymore. I'm not really paying attention because I don't work with him. But as far as what's going on, how he performs the procedure, who's performing the procedure at this point, I really have no idea. These are questions that you just need to ask him. But my opinion, for FUE, he's got some good results out there for strip. He's obviously got some good results out there. He's very good with hairlines. There's not really much I can continue with. My experience with him was several years ago, and it doesn't really apply to today anyway. So as it stands, you can look at his results, talk to patients. I highly recommend you talk to his patients. There's a lot of them out there, and see what they say.
Yeah, like it seems to me like I've seen a lot of results online. Like I spent a lot of time looking at Spencer's website, and to be honest, I don't find a lot of doctors that their hairline compares to his. To his work. It's just very
how dare you?
Very, I don't know.
Kidding.
Well,
I don't know if it's something about.
Keep in mind.
I don't know if it's something that he puts in the results or something, but they just look I don't know. They just look different from everyone else's.
Well, he's good at what he does, obviously, but I need to remind you that and this isn't specific to Dr. Rahal's office or any office in particular, but when patients in general are looking at websites about hair transplants, and they're trying to find where they want to go to get their own previously bad hair transplant repaired, and I know that you're going through this laser situation where you're having some of them removed, you tend to forget that the patients that you're looking at aren't repair patients.
Correct.
You tend to forget that these guys, they came in with virgin scalps. They came in with scalps that are untouched. You're not. So I highly encourage you to, from here on out, look at results that impress you where there was work done before.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's what I've seen with him. I saw a patient that was very similar. Actually two patients that came in there with that needed repair work with, almost the same situation as me, and I looked at the after thing, and I was like, wow, this guy, came back from the dead basically. So
there you go. All right. That's always important, and it's not just for you, but for people listening. Always avoid looking at the showcase results on virgin scalps. If you're not a virgin scalp, you need to find results like your own. So if you've done that, and you feel comfortable with what you see, then tell Dr. Rahal we said hi.
No, yeah, I'm pretty set on his clinic, because I've been doing a lot of research and between them and a couple other clinics, but I'm really just their patients, just the way they present, their patient stuff and everything.
We love you, man, but we got to let you go.
Sorry, Spencer.
All right. All right.
Bye,
you take care. Good luck. Thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, guys.
All right.
I'm going.
All right. Got a new joke from Staten Island.
We love you, John.
We're just busting balls, dude. Of course we love you. Anyone who takes the time to call the show is an important part of what we do. Period.
Hang on. Everyone?
Almost everybody.
Okay.
One guy called in 15 years ago, and you're still thinking about that.
I'm just being, careful about that statement.
Oh, keeping it real. That's true.
Keeping it real.
That's true. I wish some doctors, besides, friends of the Bald Truth would call in. I wish Ricardo Mejia would call in, or, some of his other boys who are, upset with me, so we could talk. Just talk.
That would be good.
Like human
Talking
beings.
is good.
Like
Talking
people.
is good.
Like two people. I remember at the Eyes at Your S conference, I'm trying to talk to him, and he's like, it was literally like, hello. Did you not just hear what I said? It's like in one ear and out the other. He's on his phone. He's looking around. Oh, there's a bird. It was unreal.
We'll get phone calls.
Look, we have an opportunity to change this field. It is not a situation where it's my way or the highway. But in life, if you have an understanding of something, if you're going to teach somebody, if you can drive a race car and you're teaching somebody how to drive, and you have that experience, you can do it And the person who's trying to learn how to do it does not have the experience yet and has to learn this skill set. That happens in everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, these people do not have the wherewithal or the skill set to make this happen. That's not an insult. They just never developed it. What are you going to do? They were never in our side or in my side of this industry before. So let's leverage this. Leverage the power of trust. Leverage the ability to get something done.
Well, I think the assumption of hate, of the negativity is I think it's misplaced. I believe, or I know it's misplaced. But compare it to if you were advertising yourself that you're going to start doing surgery, and you start talking about why it's important for you to be able to explain and move forward with your efforts to perform surgery, and then for them to jump in and start criticizing your ideas. They're looking out for the patient's best interest.
Absolutely.
They're looking out for you because you're making a huge mistake, not just for the patient, but for yourself.
Right.
So that's constructive criticism. And it's the exact same thing. So I agree that no one should look at your comments, your commentary, as being attacks. I've spoken to people about this.
I don't even understand it. It's like why would I want to actually attack an organization that I would love to be able to work with in order to accomplish our common goal? It makes absolutely zero sense. Now, are there some jerks in the organization? Yeah, there's jerks everywhere. That's just the way that it is. Are there some people who have absolutely zero clue about what we do and what we've been able to accomplish and what I do, who take the time to listen to these callers and understand how we've changed their lives? No.
That's a big one right there. No one takes the time to listen to people like we do.
They have no clue. And when I hear that this particular guy is like, it's a competition. That, well, Spencer only thinks his ideas are good. Why doesn't he support what we do? It's not about not supporting you. It's about trying to get the right message out to the consumer so that we can help them. It's not personal, people. Apparently it's personal to them, though. So, all right, Joe, we're not going to... You want another call?
Well, someone that I know personally was messaging me telling me he's trying to call in, so...
All right. Here we go. Let's see if this is the person. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Spencer. This is Brian. I am calling from Los Angeles. Brian from Los Angeles, I used to call myself.
Hey, Brian from LA. How are you, man?
Hey, guys. Long time. How are you?
Can't complain. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. So the reason for my call is I just wanted to call in and say that I'm very happy with trichopigmentation results. I don't know if you guys have talked about it on the show in a while, but
we
Dr.
haven't.
Gable up in I will. I'll tell you about that really quick. So Dr. Gable up in Portland, Oregon. I'll give a shout out to him. So basically, my journey is that I started losing hair when I was 17 years old, the ripe old age of 17.
Holy shit.
And, it was just devastating beyond belief. It's still to this day the most devastating things I've gone through.
That is brutal, my man. That is brutal.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And, I met Joe because I was a patient of Dr. Hassan, multiple patients. Multiple surgeries. I'll say I am very, very happy with his work. It was absolutely incredible. However, at the end of the day, what I wanted at that young age is a completely full head of hair with a straight hairline, which we just know is not possible. And it's not due to Dr. Hassan's limitation. It's just due to the limitation of donor.
Right.
But I was just always one of those guys who, I would go in for a surgery and, the results would come in, oh, this is great. This is awesome. I got new hair. And then, after a little while, I'd be like, shit, I need more. If I want the look I'm going for, I need more, I need more, I need more. And you realize that I'm just reaching, this is a dead end. This is not going to work out.
You just don't have the supply to meet the demand. That's the reality of hair transplantation. That's its limitation.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and we always hope for cloning being around the corner, and the old saying goes, I've been waiting 5 to 10 years for 5 to 10 years. So it's just like nothing's going to be there in the immediate future that's going to make me happy. So, flash forward a little bit, and you start seeing guys online who are tattooing their scalps. And a lot of doctors or even just regular tattoo clinics are using permanent ink to do this. And the result over the long term especially is disastrous. In many cases, the ink turns blue or green. The dots that they put on the head start to kind of, fade into each other. And it looks like eventually you've dumped paint on your head. So I convinced myself not to do that. And then finally, I forget what year it is, but there was a technique called trichopigmentation that came out where it's that same concept.
Joe Tillman actually introduced it to the world on this broadcast.
Way back in 2012.
Yeah,
way back in 2012.
And 2012, okay. Yeah. That's how long I've been doing it. And actually, I was one of the first test patients up at the Hanson Owan Clinic for that.
He was.
So thank you again for that.
No problem.
Yeah. So, so what that is the idea there is they put the ink in and it fades. In my case, after about 20-ish months, you could start to notice a difference where the ink, it just goes out of your body. It doesn't turn blue, it doesn't turn green. It just fades and you got to redo it. But the main thing behind it is when it goes in there, it looks unbelievable. Like, I can't tell you how natural and how good it looks. And so once I saw that, when the first time I did it, I had hair. So it helped disguise the hair loss even further. I was using Topic and everything, but like when you put the trichopigmentation in there, it looks really good. And I think it supplemented the hair nicely. But then I started to kind of ask myself, okay, if they can put, almost as many dots as they want, obviously you don't want to paint the scalp, but is it conceivable for me to shave my head and just have kind of dots all over my head? And that's kind of the plunge I took, and it ended up being a huge success. So what I look like now, essentially, and everybody tells me this, is I look like a guy who has a completely full head of hair who just chooses to shave it down.
That's gotta be a great feeling, man.
It was the most liberating thing in the world for me.
Yeah.
It was the only way for me to move on from just obsessing over an appearance every day to now being able to do whatever I wanted to do. Hair loss took so many things away from me, and one of the harder ones was I was very active physically. Like, I love to swim, especially, and I just could no longer swim. Like, the degree of anxiety it would cause me to get in the water was just not worth it. And so as soon as I was able to cut the hair off, get what I think is a very good natural look, I had all the freedom I wanted to, and I could do all the things in life that I wanted to. Hair loss, it no longer holds me back from anything. When I get up, I go take a shower. Some days I don't even look in the mirror. Like, I don't look any different when I get out of bed versus when I'm in the shower and water or getting ready. Like,
now I'm getting depressed.
It always looks the same. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'm going to tell you this, and I say this not as an insult, but I don't listen to your show regularly anymore because I'm not a hair loss sufferer. So it's like I no longer am seeking help with my hair loss situation.
Well, I'm glad. Just like I tell people to get off the forums, if they can stop listening to the program, if they can move on with their life and not worry about it, that's great.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I am. I haven't looked at a forum in years. I used to look at these for hours a day, like, is this doctor going to cure it? Is that doctor going to cure it? And holy shit, it's exhausting. It's an exhausting way to live.
I got to tell you, I have a message forum, and I've said this from the day one. I started 10 years after, I was in the industry, and I've always felt the forums are the biggest rackets, the most difficult place. I believe, yes, people can be helped in the forums, but there's just so much bullshit that goes on the forums. And for us to run the forum, especially with my OCD, I had to hire people to moderate, full time, because there's just so much nonsense on there. So if you can stay away from it,
man.
it's unbelievable. You are free.
It's a freedom that it's a weight lifted off your shoulder that you didn't even realize was there to begin with.
100%. Like, I spent way too much time doing that, and you're right. It's a double-edged sword. I thank your forums because that's how I found Dr. Hassan, and that's how I learned about trichopigmentation and everything.
Sure.
But when you're just trying to get the certain level of perfection that I was, and you're talking to people like, holy crap, it's exhausting. It's never ending. But I just wanted to make sure to call because I still feel that this technique of trichopigmentation, that either people don't know about it or they're not using it or really understand how valuable it could be. Even if you have hair, you want to keep your hair and you just want it to look better. I'm a guy who had very dark hair and a light scalp. And I think that really makes your hair loss stand out even more. So if you go in and you darken your scalp through this technique, it really looks a lot better. I looked a lot better when I had hair and trichopigmentation. But at the end of the day, I still wanted that completely full head of hair look. And the ironic part of it is the only way to achieve that was to shave my hair all off and then do all the dots. And now I have a crystal clear, defined hairline. It works great. And the other thing I really like about it is while I was doing the procedure with Dr. Gable last time, he's like, all right, we're done. Go ahead and take a look in the mirror. And then so I'll go in the mirror and I'll circle spots. So I'm like, you missed a little bit here. You missed a little bit there. Okay, jump back in the chair and we'll touch them up. And we probably did that process 2 or 3 times. And you can't really do that with grafts when you have just grafts sitting on a table. You're limited.
Right.
But this really allows you to be in so much control. And I'm one of those guys who I tell him err on the side of density as opposed to not density. And you can't do that either with a hair transplant. So, he gives me all the density I want with still the natural look. And it's a fantastic way to either augment a hair transplant to make your scalp less white, I guess you can say. Or if you want to do the shaved look like I've got, it's another option. Now, I'll also say really quickly, if you had told me when I was in my 20s that I was going to shave down, I'm 36 now, that I was going to one day be able to shave my head down, I would have told you are absolutely out of your mind. There's no way in the world that's ever going to happen. But once I saw that, like, holy crap, you can actually shave your head down, but look like you have a full head of hair and a well-defined hairline, that became an option. I'm still
Brian. Let me interrupt you and ask you. You've had the procedure. You've been getting the procedure consistently since that first test that you were involved in back in 2012. How many times have you gone into a clinic? Because you weren't always going to Dr. Gable. You've been to a couple different clinics. How many times have you been in to get a full refresh of your scalp?
A full refresh, probably 3 times. I go on average like every 18 to 20-ish months. That's when I start to notice it fading away, and that's when I go back in. Right.
Okay. Yeah. See, and that's a question a lot of people have. How long does it last? And as I've said, and I've told you this in the past, it depends on your physiology, but expect at least at the very least a once a year touch up, maybe once every 2 years. And that's apparently the way it's worked out for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And, it's just with the result, I'm just more than happy to do that. Yeah, I'm going to have to commit to doing it for a lifetime, but at least until something better comes out, if that's going to happen.
Look, it's so life changing for you, it worked for you. I would say that. Listen, there are people who take this route and they try to shave their head and they still feel uncomfortable, even if the tricho looks good. But the good news about that is it will fade. So they're not committed for a lifetime. You're an example of someone who figured something out, who did his research, figured something out that, to me, dealing with hair loss, whether you shave your head wear a hairpiece, get a hair transplant, use medication, or now have tracheal pigmentation. It's all about figuring out a way to feel comfortable in your own skin after a really, devastating process begins. We're not really as emotionally prepared for this, especially you were 17 years old. It's devastating for people. So, it doesn't matter if, and that's why I always thought that when people would say, oh, well, this guy's wearing a rug, he's so vain, or this guy, it's not, it has nothing to do with vanity. It has to do with, you're losing a part of yourself. You're losing something that you're used to having. Your appearance is changing dramatically because of it. And for a lot of guys, it happens at a very young age. That is not like getting a breast augmentation or a chin augmentation or something to augment.
No.
You are just trying to somehow kind of figure out how to feel comfortable again after something has been taken away by nature. And it's a devastating thing, man, but you fixed it. You solved your problem, man. And I congratulate you because you're one of the guys that, saw the light at the end of the tunnel and you reached it. And I think that's great.
Thank you. No, and I'm very happy to be where I'm at. I guess the shocking thing is I never thought that it would be solved this way. I always thought it would be solved through, cloning is the ultimate goal, just getting more and more hair on there. And this may be a shock to some of the listeners, but if that was available to me tomorrow, I don't even know if I would even bother. Like I've got some that I'm really happy with.
You know what? And that's great. I'm thrilled for you. I know some guys who've had it done, and again, it's all about the practitioner. There's so much involved to make it look natural. But I'm really happy for you, man. And I appreciate the call. We're going to call it a night.
All right. Well,
All right.
Thank you guys so much. It was good to talk to you both.
All right, Brian, a pleasure.
Good hearing from you.
Good hearing from you, man. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
I'm exhausted.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. 2.5 hours. Guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I hope the sound quality was good for you guys. It looked like the video is coming out crystal clear through YouTube, which is great. Don't forget to subscribe to Joe Tillman's YouTube page, which is youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. Also, his personal website, that's hairtransplantmentor.com. You can go to thebaldtruth.com for eventually go there for archives of this broadcast and different segments. Some guys have asked me in the chat room about putting up full segments or full interviews with undercover techs and undercover doc. Basically, they're cut up. The longest they are about 5 minutes. But yes, we are putting them up on our YouTube channel, which is still doesn't have the full slash and everything, but it is Hair Transplant Podcast. Those are going to be put up. We started putting up some tiny little teaser segments, but we're going to be putting up the full 3, 4, 5 minutes, and we're doing a lot more. I have a lot of undercover tech stuff and a couple of undercover doc stuff in the can. I think that seems to be a very powerful way to educate you guys. A lot of people are reacting really well to it. They like hearing from people who are actually in the trenches, behind the scenes, and who are too fucking afraid. I understand because they want to continue to work to show their faces, but they're willing to tell the truth. Never been done before, and it's something that I think is really compelling to listen to. So we're going to be doing a lot more of that. And Joe, give out the other websites that we're on.
Hairlossexperiences.com, primarily a UK-based forum, but everyone's got access to it. It's run by a guy who is also a repair patient like myself. He believes in the message that we're pushing out and allows us to stream our broadcast through his website. That is hairlossexperiences.com. We also have bellycapelli.forumfree.it, also a repair patient, good friend of mine from many years ago, provides a forum for clinics to share their results, patients to share their experiences, and it's all accessible to you worldwide. Even though it's in Italian, it will translate into English if you have a modern browser. Finally, we have international-hairlossforum.com. It is a French hair loss and hair restoration website, also with a list of doctors that share results and many, many patients that share their experiences. Check them out. That's international-hairlossforum.com.
All right, guys, and also the message forum, baldtruthtalk.com. If you're considering surgical hair restoration or hair transplant surgery, obviously check out the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That is IAHRS.org. And the American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you Tuesday, I think. Later.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
Real American heroes.
Today we salute you.